Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Cup Chat with Birding with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service. I'm Emily Grant, Texas Birding with Extension statewide coordinator, and we're excited today. We have entered into a partnership with Texas Parks and Wildlife magazine this year to kind of bring a fun birding game and get everyone outside called Bird Bingo. And so today joining me is Eva, and I'm going to butcher your last name. I'm going to go with Frederick.
Correct.
Friedrich. Okay.
Perfect.
And she's going to tell us a little bit about what Bird Bingo is. Why, and then we're going to dive into some really cool things that they launched in their bird issue of the Texas Parks and Wildlife magazine. So, Eva, first off, let's if you will share a little bit about the magazine, and almost we all call these like free 30-second commercials of maybe why the magazine is a great resource for everybody who's an outdoor lover, something like that. Give a little bit of background about the magazine, how they can get subscribed, things like that, and then we'll dive into Bird Bingo. And introduce yourself.
For sure. Thank you. So yeah, my name is Eva Frederick. I'm the managing editor at Texas Parks and Wildlife magazine. I've been there about 2 years. I just really love it. It's a really amazing place to work. So Texas Parks and Wildlife magazine, it's the official publication of the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. So we're like a government magazine. So we really support a lot of agency initiatives, like trying to get people out to state parks and hunting and fishing and just wildlife appreciation in general. We think we're the oldest magazine in the state of Texas, oldest continuously running magazine. So we used to be Texas
cool.
Game and Fish. Yeah. Yeah, and it's very exciting. Like we have a lot of coverage. There's pretty much something for everyone. So whatever outdoor activity you're interested in, I'd say pick up a copy and there's definitely something for you.
Oh, that's super cool. So where could they do they subscribe? Where do they pick up copies of the magazine?
Yeah, so we are at some like bookstores and HEBs, but I think the best way to ensure that you get a copy is to subscribe, and it is really cheap. It's $2 a month, so you can just go to our website, and for less than the cost of a cup of coffee, you can subscribe.
That is awesome. Super neat. $2 a month. You can't beat that with a stick.
Truly.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Bird Bingo. First off, what is Bird Bingo, and what was the inspiration to launch this birding initiative through Texas Parks and Wildlife magazine?
Yeah, so Texas Bird Bingo is kind of our effort to make birding really fun and inviting for a wider audience. It's a collaboration with Texas Audubon and a bunch of other regional partners, and basically, it is what it sounds like. It's bingo cards. Here, I have one here. It's bingo cards with a bunch of Texas birds on there. So the way you play the game is as you see birds, not birds you've seen in the past, as you are seeing birds currently, you cross them off. And once you make a bingo, so that's like 5 birds in any one direction, or a blackout, which is every bird on the card, you can send it into the email that's listed on the card and be entered to win really cool prizes.
So you can black out or just one row, and that enters you to win.
Yes. And so a blackout on, so we have one statewide card and then several other regional cards. So on the statewide card, if you get a blackout, that's 25 entries, just because it's a lot harder to get a blackout on that card.
I would
on
think
every other card, it's 5 entries. And of course, a single bingo is 1 entry.
Oh, so okay. So if I black out my card, I get more points versus just a regular. Okay, so that's cool. So how do people get involved in playing Bird Bingo? Because I know you have cards. Actually, I have cards in my office. We have the statewide cards here at the Gillespie County office. I'm not sure all of you are going to drive to Gillespie County to pick up a bingo card. But if they do, you can. Eva, how can they get access if they're not driving to Gillespie County?
Yeah. Well, first of all, there is one card in our May issue of our magazine. So if you're a subscriber, it's in there. But also there's cards available at almost all of our state parks. So you can just ask at the office. And then finally, everybody can go to texasbirdbingo.com. And I can share my screen if you want to just show.
Yeah, go ahead. And I'll put that in the comments, the website. That way y'all can access those cards and all that there is.
Yes. Okay. Is that working?
Yep. We can get you.
All right. Great. So yeah, this is texasbirdbingo.com. we have a little bit about the rules. And then if you scroll down, down here, you can see all the different regions that we have. So here's the statewide card, and then just whatever region you're living in, or maybe if you're taking a trip. Like I know, Emily, you said you were going to go to the hill country later today. So you can just click here, download the card, and print it out. And then, yeah, up here is the email address. So this is hillcountry@texasbirdbingo.com, and just send a picture of your card in, and we'll add it to the pool that we're drawing for prizes from.
So so is there any birds that are common across all cards? Did any bird make every single card? Have you
I
thought
don't
about
think
that?
any bird made every single card, but there's definitely some that are, repeated across cards. You know what, off the top of my head, I'm not thinking of any right now.
I don't know. I saw the grackle, and so my question is, did we repeat the great-tailed grackle over all the cards? Because that definitely could have been one.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, let's check South Plains.
They're not on the Big
They're
Bend
not
region.
on there. Nope.
No, it's okay. I just random thought. So, oh, that is neat. So guys, you'll see that they have so many different regions, and where we can, where depending upon your region, where you can bird. So, okay, so they can download these offline, print them out, scan them, and emailing them in for prizes. You said so. Talk a little bit about maybe what those prizes might be, and I'm going to kick you off a screen
Oh,
share
yes.
for a second, so that way they can
Stop.
see us both, and then we can, if we need to share something else, we'll go back. But talk about some of those prizes that people have the opportunity to win, because I like to win, and then I love a good prize.
Me too. We're really excited about those. So yeah, basically there will be 31 winners, or 30 winners and one grand prize winner. So 30 winners will receive, the prize will be a guided birding trip with an Audubon master birder. And that can be kind of local to your region. And you are allowed to bring a plus one. And then, yeah, and then the grand prize that we're really excited about is a guided trip to one of Audubon's bird sanctuary islands. So that's where a lot of birds go have their rookeries, or it's just like probably the birdiest experience you might ever have. And just to like show how cool of an experience this is, one of our photographers, Chase Fountain, who has been working here for years and years, says that this was the highlight of his career, was getting to go to one of those sanctuary islands.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. It's
I think that's,
surprising for a photographer who gets to go and do a lot.
I know. And I was like, okay, so this is a really, really cool experience. But I mean, looking at his photos, it was just like birds. Like every single photo had like at least 10 or 15 birds just flapping around in the back. It was
That's
amazing.
neat. Yeah. So, okay, but are there any rules? Because like I've already thought of a question that I've got, because we have Rio Diablo Birding Camp, which is it is the only youth birding camp in the state of Texas, Eva, coming up in a couple weeks. And we're going to do the Big Bend region of Texas, plus the hill country. And so we're going to take the kids from Big Bend all the way over. And so I'm thinking I'll print them out some bingo cards in case, we can win bingo. But what happens if we see a hill country species in technically the Big Bend region? How does that work? Are there any rules that we have to follow?
Oh, that is a good question. I mean, for the most part, like all of bird bingo is based on the honor system. So I think that if you see that bird and it's not in the region, I think that's fine. But okay. If you didn't see a bird and you cross it out, obviously that's not okay. But yeah, I mean, if you're doing the Big Bend card and you see the bird slightly outside the Big Bend region or even in the hill country, I think that's fine. And then besides that, there's not too many rules. Like I said, it's honor system. We just trust y'all to mark down the birds you see. And then it runs through the end of November 2024. So if you could just get your entries into us by then, we will be processing them. And that was designed in mind to incorporate both the spring and fall migration. So you have like the highest chance possible of seeing all these birds.
To get that blackout on the state card.
Yes, exactly.
So are you taking any of this information? And the answer can be no, because I would definitely be overwhelmed by getting all of the bingo cards in via email. Are y'all utilizing any of that information into input any citizen science or get any data back from what birds were most seen during bird bingo? Have y'all thought about that at all? And the answer is okay to be no, because I would tell you in extension where we love data, that would be a nightmare to actually compile.
That's a really great question. The answer is unfortunately no. Our staff, our magazine staff is 6 people, so we don't really have the bandwidth for that. But I mean, I encourage everyone if they see a bird to not only cross it off on Bird Bingo, but also log it on iNaturalist, and that'll help some citizen science efforts.
Absolutely. Okay, so any rhyme or reason on how the birds were chosen? I mean, they're great birds on all the cards, but there are just some that I'm like, oh, the great-tailed grackle, we like that one. And I do appreciate a good great-tailed grackle. I have publicly said on Cup Chat before that I think everyone should go to a grackle roost and see that. So there are appreciation of great-tailed grackles, but most birders don't go out going, I'm gonna go see a great-tailed grackle today. So was there a rhyme or reason for how those birds were chosen for each card?
Yeah, well, that is a good question. I think there were several things that went into play. Obviously, they all had to be from that region, and we wanted to keep it achievable. So we weren't like, please go see the rarest bird in this region. So I think, and some of them having a grackle is like a really easy, like feel good, like, oh, I already got one. And then, the more boring answer is that so we have sponsors on each card, and some of the birds were chosen by the sponsors. So that's maybe their favorite picks or things that they think are easy to see, things like that.
Absolutely. So I'm going to be selfish for a moment and say that we were excited to be Birding with Extension. We were the state sponsor of the state card. And so one thing that we thought was fun, and Eva, you may not know this, is we have sticker birds that we give away to our participants that if they see a bird, they get a sticker. So kind of like Bird Bingo, you can collect all 10. Actually, I think we have 11. I'm not really sure, but they get to collect them. And so we specifically chose our birds that we got to put as the sponsor as our sticker birds. So that way our participants at programs could get our bird bingo and stickers. And so we definitely passed out the state card a lot at our Birding the Border event. And so we're so pleased to have a working relationship with Texas Parks and Wildlife here with Birding with Extension. It's been super fun. Y'all sent somebody out to Birding the Border, and so we're excited to see that come out, I think, in next year's bird issue.
Yeah, we're doing festivals next year, but that sounded like such a great experience. I was jealous. I wish I had been able to go.
Absolutely, and that's so fun. Okay, so we talked about what they can win, but it was in the latest issue. Downloading. Is there anything else that people need to know about Texas Bird Bingo before we kind of jump to something else that I'm super excited to talk about today?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think just get out there, have fun with it. There's a great opportunity to win these prizes, and it's just a fun way. Maybe like if you have kids in your life, it's a fun way to get them involved. So yeah, we're just really excited to have this kind of entry-level, exciting way to get people into birding.
I love it. I think it's so fun. And so I'm actually going to go out birding this morning with one of our Birding with Extension volunteers, Barbara Procrantz, and we will see if we can come back with a bird bingo. I downloaded, it was super easy to download the card, everybody. I downloaded the card while I was on Zoom with Eva, not before we went live, and already have that sitting on the printer. So we will, fingers crossed, that we can, we're going to quick bird and short bird this morning. So we'll see what we can get there. So, May is your bird issue, correct? Am I right?
Yes, that is correct.
So really cool thing that y'all did this year, and I will have to say I was so impressed by the covers. If anyone didn't see the Texas Parks and Wildlife magazine bird covers, the differences, it was so cool. So anyways, y'all launched a campaign to a mock election, which is not real at all, but we did actually get to vote on what bird should be the state bird. Yeah. Because there is lots of disagreements in the birding community that the mockingbird is maybe not the best state bird. So y'all put it to a vote and you gave it to the public to vote. And I think that's so cool. I'm going to give the link to that issue and that story in the comments, but really before we tell us the results. So there were several birds that were up to vote for. So the scissor-tailed flycatcher. So, and how did y'all because different people gave you nominations. How did all this work? Share the process.
Yeah, for sure. Well, to go back to how this started, we were just thinking about the state bird of Texas, which the mockingbird, I think it does represent Texas well. It is spread across the entire state. It has many songs to represent, there's many voices in our population, kind of love that. But it is shared by 4 other states who kind of copycatted us. And we just like Texas has a lot of birds that are specific to here, or all of them are born here, or, maybe there's a bird that could represent Texas better. So we just wanted to explore that and have take advantage of this election year to have a fun mock election of our own. So yeah, we asked kind of notable birders across the state to send in who they would like to see as the state bird of Texas. So I think we had, let me see, maybe 9 options. Yeah, 9 nominations from the crested caracara to the gray-tailed grackle to the scissor-tailed flycatcher. And as you mentioned, Emily, something really cool we did was we only have 1 magazine cover, but this month we had 8 different magazine covers, each featuring one of the nominated birds. So I can show y'all. Here I have the whooping crane cover, but it was just up to random chance which cover you ended up getting. And if you are interested in buying all 8 covers, we have a special deal going on. So you can find that on our website. I think it's all 8 covers for $40.
Oh, that's
Yeah, and then you can
cool.
maybe, I want to frame them. I just think they're so beautiful. They're so like fun. The birds look great and very, it's like they're candidate headshots. It's very cool.
Yes, it was super impressive. Okay, so some of the state birders nominated. Okay, so the scissor-tail flycatcher. And so this one I think is an interesting. I'm just going to kind of dive through these nominations. And I think the scissor-tail flycatcher is such an interesting nomination, because as a kid, everyone knows is the scissor-tail flycatcher is a very recognizable bird for most Texans, and that we understand even as a kid what a scissor-tail flycatcher is. And you see the tail. I mean, it's pretty obvious, scissor tail.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I started birding that I really saw and noticed their color pattern and really how beautiful they are as a bird. And so I think that this is a bird. I guess I'm going to almost give like a 30-second campaign for each bird, even though voting is closed and you're going to tell us the results. Is everyone knows that it's a scissor-tail flycatcher, but as you grow in your bird knowledge, you really see the beauty of their coloring and the beauty of the bird. And we actually have a pair outside the office that I like to watch. So anyways, fun
I
fact.
love it. Yeah,
So,
well, that nomination came to us from Victor Emmanuel. He's been birding for 74 years, founder of his own nature tour company. And he mentioned that so they are also the Oklahoma state bird, but more scissor-tailed flycatchers breed in Texas than in any other state. So that kind of gives us maybe claim to them representing us. I just also think their silhouette is so iconic that you see that from afar and you know what kind of bird it is. I mean, I guess with the mockingbird too, but especially with the scissor-tail, just really eye-catching.
yes, super eye-catching. And as you dive into them. Okay, so then next you had the logger-headed shrike.
Yes.
Which that's a little interesting. And I guess I don't, from a general population of people, I'm going to say the average person does not identify the logger-headed shrike. Oh my God, did you see that? Like the scissor-tail flycatcher. But as you learn about them, how their unique characteristics for stabbing their meals is such a unique thing that you kind of have to give them a nod for uniqueness and creativity. So anyways, okay, so share a little bit about maybe this one.
Their candidate image for us was like the grill master for, impaling their prey on cactus spines or fences or whatever and kind of letting the sun bake it a little bit. I think a lot of Texans can identify with loving to grill out, cook out. And I just think it's, it's like one of our more hardcore recommendations. I think it's just a really cool and interesting bird to dive into. Yeah, we loved writing about that one. And that came to us from Danielle Bellamy, who is a wildlife biologist and co-founder of Black Birders Week.
Awesome. Okay. So the next one, the painted bunting. And if everyone knows my bird story, I thought we called these painted bunnies. I did not know that they were buntings at the beginning because I thought my birding mentor called them bunnies. And so they're very cute, very bright. Definitely one of those birds that I think most people could consider their spark bird and really kind of jump them in to birding. Easy to identify. Thank you, Painted Bunny, for not being brown. But just beautiful. So I think that they got their nomination because of their beauty.
Yep, and you would be right. Well, more of the gateway species into birding
Gotcha.
aspect. If people see that and they're like, whoa, like I am interested in that bird, and then that kind of leads you to looking at other cool birds in Texas. Yeah, and that came to us from Chuck Sexton, who's a retired wildlife biologist. He's birded all over the state. Yeah, I think that's a really great option, and it made a beautiful cover. I was like, any excuse to use a painted bunting on the cover. It was amazing.
Yes. Okay. So now the classic one, and actually, Romy Swanson, Birding with Extension Guide, suggested this one. The Golden Cheek Warbler, I think we can kind of obviously go with. They were nominated because every one of them is a native born Texan. Definitely in on the endangered species list. I think we are so proud to see them in great abundance right now. And I think their population is definitely doing better. I'm not a official status of that, so please don't take this, anyone listening, very seriously. But we've everybody has been getting great views of them. So anyways, unique bird, obviously, because they are probably from Texas. We love that.
Yes. And I think, they've done a lot for Texas conservation. It's just really helped preserve that habitat that they live in. And also they're just so cute. And I've actually never seen one. I really hope to this year. This will
Really haven't?
I know I've heard them a lot. And then yeah.
Gotcha. Well, if you need to see one, we'll manage that privately. But at Rio Diablo Birding Camp, we're going to be on the hunt for them. And so if you want to come out, you can come out with us and the kids and we'll find you a golden cheek.
I would love
I say that and we'll get skunked. But another recommendation from one of our Birding with Extension guides. So gosh, we feel like we're in the in crowd because of their important people. Two of them are Birding with Extension family members. Bill Sane nominated the Great Roadrunner, Greater Roadrunner. First of all, this is Bill's favorite bird. So I'm just not sure where his recommendation is coming from. So Bill, if you're watching, throwing you under the bus just a smidge. Were you nominating it because it's your favorite bird and you want to see it as the state bird, or did you have other reasons? Because I think the Roadrunner is such a unique bird. Definitely just iconic. Again, one of those birds like the scissor-tail flycatcher that everyone in Texas knows, but maybe as birders we appreciate a little bit more. So love that. But I also think that Roadrunners are one of those birds that when you're not looking for them, you see them. When you hope to see a Roadrunner, you don't.
That's so true.
No.
Yeah, well, I can give you a little insight into why Bill nominated this one. He says they are the perfect representation of the Texas persona. They strut around proudly, don't really care what others think of them. They take on rattlesnakes and animals bigger and more dangerous than them. And he goes on to say they can be found in 12 different states, but they can be found all across Texas. So kind of like the mockingbird, like no matter where you live in the state, you could see a roadrunner. And I just think that's like also something that is important maybe for a bird that's going to represent all of us is, it lives around all of us.
No, I think that's a great point. We can definitely see them everywhere. All right. The next is a whooping crane. And this is probably the only bird on the list that I personally don't have on my list because I have not birded the Texas Gulf Coast a bunch. I really, with my birding program is being centralized to one area, sometimes I don't get out just to go birding. So whooping, I did see, so anyways, whooping crane, obviously, definitely conservation highlight. We have populations of those here in Texas. So endangered species that we help losing my words here. Really active here in Texas on their conservation. I think that this is something that I would love to see in the future. But I guess my only concern on the whooping crane and my kind of knock for it is they're very very specifically located. They're not in great abundance for people to see everywhere. And before I was a birder, I didn't even know that there were such things as whooping cranes.
Yeah.
So from that state bird and knowledge on a massive level, that would probably might be my negative on the whooping crane, but definitely a cool bird.
I hear you. Well, that was kind of, so this nomination comes from our Texas state ornithologist. And she says, so even though there are so few and it is like a little bit hard to see one, which actually I was so lucky to get to see one this year. I went out to the Whooping Crane Festival in Port Aransas, and it was just like amazing experience to see them in person. They're so huge. Like I knew they were huge, but like, dang.
Huge.
But yeah, so she kind of talked a little bit about their recovery going from only like 21 species to I think more than 540 last year. So I think so what she said about that was their ongoing recovery features tenacity, creativity, and grit, all traits Texans pride themselves on. And you know, everything's bigger in Texas. 5 foot tall bird, just, you know, kind of a fun Texas emblem.
That's true. Very true. All right. So next up, crested caracara, and I'm just not going to have to. I'm just going to have to say this is my least favorite option. No offense to the nominator. To me, as a from an agricultural perspective and a birding perspective, caracara, they're just not my favorite bird. All I see them is I see them flying, and then on the side of the road eating dead things, and they're beautiful. I will give them that. And their color marking is great, and they're expanding their ranges into more of Texas, and we're seeing them further north. I just don't know that I can get this. I don't know that I can get behind the crested caracara. So
I hear you. We got some feedback from readers along those lines. They're like, yeah, beautiful bird, but it plucks my calf's eyes out. And we were like, oh, yep, that is pretty gnarly.
yes.
I mean, as we were designing the covers, we were like, this was reminding us of like when presidential elections shifted from radio to TV. Yes. We were like, wow, Crested Caracara has the face for TV. He would win the candidate's vote just for being handsome. But yeah, I hear that. Maybe not the best bird in some respects, but I think he's just a really cool and like kind of historic bird. And I think a lot of people have seen them and will not forget them once they've seen them. So,
and it's a great bird in the birding community, and he's gorgeous, and our kids love seeing crested caracaras at camp. So definitely cool bird. Just I'm not sure. That probably made me well, and then followed by the great-tailed grackle. Okay, so everyone at HEB parking lots, shout out to HEB, has seen a great-tailed grackle.
They campaign very actively.
They very much. They hit the road running in great forces. And so I'm going to say that for that fact, I'm not going to like the great-tailed grackle in its abundance across Texas is to me a reason he should be nominated. But because he only campaigns at like HEBs and gas station parking lots, not sure he's going to get enough votes.
Yep, I hear you. I think he was kind of like a dark horse candidate. We weren't really sure where he would go. But he is, so this is from the nomination from Lisa Gonzalez, the executive director of Audubon, Texas. Gray-tailed grackle is gregarious, smart, territorial, and opportunistic with a pioneering spirit, which I just think is a fun way to describe them. And I often just hear people say how noisy they are. So I love some grackle love.
Well, and if you think about how they have adapted to be suited so well for an urban environment, congrats, grackle. You did a good job.
I just learned how they got to Texas, and I was like, wow, like they were the favorite pet of a Aztec emperor, and he brought them from the coasts of Mexico, and then they adapted to the Mexican highlands, and then that kind of like those adaptations led them to come to Texas. Like they are very adaptable, and that's just like a cool thing, like pioneering spirit, just like this says.
Very true. We actually featured them in our fall virtual seminar last year and talked about how they're doing some research about how they're expanding their range and why. And because the grackles are very smart birds. So anyways, and then last, there were 2 nominations to keep the northern mockingbird. Great. Yay. Go mockingbird. I would just be interested. Okay, so tell us the results and what did the people think?
Yep. And this kept us on our toes the entire time. We were not sure who was going to win. We heard different things from social media, different things from letters the magazine received. But in the end, the data came in with the Greater Roadrunner in the lead with 492 votes.
Wow.
Second was the Golden Chief Warbler with 457, and then third was the Northern Mockingbird. So people who think if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But
Well,
yeah, so
I
I
don't
guess
disagree.
yeah, if this election, like I said, like we said, it's a mock election, it's not real, it's not going to change the actual state bird. But if you're on the legislature and you're watching, the people like roadrunners.
Well, and I'm just impressed that our two Birding with Extension family members who were your nominators, their two birds won. So yay, congrats, Romy and Bill. So we're happy for y'all that y'all were winners and both great birds and actually a whole list of great candidates. That's so fun. So guys, if you haven't checked out Texas Parks and Wildlife May issue, it is all about birds. Welcome you to do that. I put a link to the, oh, did I put a link? I thought I put a link. Oh, yep, I did put a link to the article about the mock elections. So if you want to read a little bit deeper about the candidates and how that turned out. But thank you, Eva, for sharing those results with us, talking about Bird Bingo. So guys, go out and download your cards. Bonus points if you download the state card because Birding with Extension sponsored. But we're excited to see the results from birding from Bird Bingo and hope. And I guess I'm gonna start getting my entries in. I'm gonna every time we go bird take a card that way I can be entered to win. So
For sure. Yeah, good luck out there. I'm also entering. I'm like, am I allowed to enter? But yeah. Thank you so
absolutely.
much for giving us a chance to talk about this. I mean, I'm really excited about this initiative, and I think it'll just be a great way to have some fun, bring the card with you, have some fun when you're out birding.
Absolutely. Well, Ray, thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday. Happy birding this week, and we will see y'all next week. Bye.